Hi, this is Dan Carroll, and I will give an overview of the proposed qualitative research study, Understanding the Learner's Experience of Using ePortfolio in a High School Physics Class. Currently in K-12 education, there is a shift away from traditional models of education and toward learner-centered and inquiry-based models. This change is supported by the increased prevalence of the availability of technology. The move toward personalized learning requires an additional change in the way schools approach assessment and grading. Traditional types of assessment do not fully support personalized learning. In personalized learning, the experience of each learner may be slightly different, and the assessment should reasonably reflect that experience rather than a predetermined set of facts or structure. ePortfolio as an authentic assessment is an approach to the assessment of learning that focuses on the experience and is more open-ended in nature. The current trend of personalized learning is supported by the United States Department of Education and educational organizations such as the Gates Foundation, the Aurora Institute, and the ASCD. Although experts in personalized learning point out that technology does not automatically create a personalized experience, the shift toward a learner-centered environment is facilitated by technology, and some of the aspects are not possible without at least some access to it. The school system where the study will take place is in its 5th year of implementation of a one-to-one program and the 3rd year where all of the students in high school have a personal MacBook Air that they keep all year and during the summer break. As part of this implementation, the district is also in its 3rd year of exploring personalized learning as a change in the model of instructional delivery. Although experts in personalized learning encourage a shift to the personalized learning pedagogy before the implementation of technology acquisition, many school systems, such as the one in the study, explore personalized learning models as a result of having already committed to a one-to-one initiative. The shift toward personalized learning through technology is often confounded by a simple shift of traditional classroom instruction to digital classroom instruction, where the model is traditional and not personalized. In this non-personalized digital model, all of the students will access the same lessons, watch the same presentations, work on the same problems, and be assessed with the same quizzes or tests using the same timeline as all the other students. One way to encourage the desired change is to begin with the personalization of the assessment techniques through the use of alternative and authentic assessments. ePortfolio assessment is an example of an alternative authentic assessment that supports a personalized learning model. Even if students are engaging in similar activities, students can select the activities they believe are more significant examples of their level of learning and most representative of their progress to act as artifacts in their ePortfolio. Often, educational researchers look for changes in achievement in order to determine if a programmatic change is effective. While it is important to understand how instructional methods affect achievement, there are also other aspects of the learner experience that are important considerations. How learners feel about their learning progress is important as well. In this way, it is important to understand the learner experience. The purpose for this study is to understand the experience of learners in a first-year physics class, creating an ePortfolio as the primary method of assessment for that class. This class is part of a district-wide personalized learning initiative and the school-initiated standards-based grading pilot. Some of the classes in the standards-based grading pilot at this school are using an ePortfolio as the main assessment method. As part of these programs, the progression of the course is inquiry-based and learner-centered. The assessment of the learning is a standards-based approach to an ePortfolio assessment. This study will use academic self-efficacy and related self-regulative behaviors as the lens through which the data will be analyzed. Self-efficacy is a social cognitive theory that speaks to an individual's self-perception about their capacity for performance. Academic self-efficacy refers specifically to self-efficacy of an individual in an academic setting. Academic self-efficacy is domain and task specific. Academic success has been linked to academic self-efficacy. In addition, the strengthening of academic self-efficacy can result from mastery experiences and academic success. In this way, the interaction between academic self-efficacy and academic achievement is mutually reinforcing. Academic self-regulation is a set of behaviors that a learner believes will reasonably result in academic success. The academic self-efficacy of an individual includes an awareness of how these self-regulation and other academic behaviors will lead to success. An e-portfolio requires that a learner engage in conscious cognitive act about their learning in a course. They're engaged in the thoughtful selection of artifacts, evaluation of the artifacts, reflection on learning, and reaction to feedback. Uh, these are all aspects of an e-portfolio that might be indicative of changes in academic self-efficacy, and they might encourage a more conscious use of self-regulative behaviors in learning. An e-portfolio supports the current trends in education, such as personalized learning. The accepted pedagogical approach for science education for several decades has been student-centered inquiry. Inquiry was reestablished as the preferred model in 1989 in Science for All Americans by the American Association for the Advancement of Science. The standard model currently promoted by the National Science Teachers Association was published by Banshee and Bell in 2008. This is a hierarchical model where the continuum of inquiry experiences increases from teacher-directed as the low level to student-directed as the high level. Authors like Bevins and Price put that model in a category of models that have a linear design of question, procedure, result, interpretation, or QPRI. They raise a concern that the four levels model of Banshee and Bell could be seen as too rigid, and that educators might overlook the value of adding any level of inquiry. Additionally, open inquiry is very difficult to achieve in a traditional classroom setting because it takes too much time and there may be too many students per class. The most important feature is to be sure to have students engage in at least some level of inquiry. Research has shown the benefits of inquiry-based instruction in science, other academic fields, and the arts. A move toward more inquiry-based pedagogy can also support creativity and exploration and learning. An inquiry-based learning pedagogy is supportive of and is supported by the recent push for a personalized learning model for K-12 education. Personalized learning, individualized learning, and differentiated instruction models have been supported by research and are not new ideas in education. The recent push for a move to personalized learning in K-12 environments has been largely driven by the development of and access to technology in schools. Personalized learning was promoted in the 2010 United States Department of Education National Technology Plan. This description of a personalized learning is about moving toward an inquiry-rich, learner-centered model. This shift in understanding of teaching and learning requires a shift in the assessment of that learning as well. Traditional methods of assessment often are incomplete pictures of the process of learning in a traditional setting and are inadequate to measure learning in a personalized learning environment. Alternative assessment methods must be developed to more fully capture the learning that is taking place. Marzano discusses the 5 dimensions of learning and the manner in which assessment is a part of each feature. In this context, the assessment becomes part of the learning process and can produce additional learning and a pathway for future learning. In a personalized learning environment, formative assessment and integrated feedback are essential parts of the process. The use of the e-portfolio as an assessment method stems from the same use of paper portfolios for assessment. Portfolios have been used at least since the 1980s for the assessment of students in art and language arts. In both of these course paths, seeing the learner's development and each piece of work in context with the others is necessary to get a full understanding of the achievement. Portfolio assessment is still used significantly in arts education. The significance of the portfolio has been validated by art schools who require a portfolio-based submission of work with an application for admission. An e-portfolio is an extension of a traditional paper portfolio. While it is similar in its general sense, an e-portfolio is much more versatile in its product. The e-portfolio can be used in different ways. Paul Truer of the University of Minnesota claims to define the first e-portfolio in 1994 as an ongoing record of a learner's experiences. There are a number of colleges and universities that use the e-portfolio in this way. Students are required to maintain and update the e-portfolio as they move through their educational programs. Generally, institutions have found that learners only use e-portfolios when required and the extent to which they use them is related to the extent to which the instructors promote their use. As an assessment tool, ePortfolios have been found to be an effective method of alternative authentic assessment. Special K-12 programs are sometimes based on a portfolio system, but their use in general K-12 programs is not widespread. Understanding the experience of learners using an ePortfolio might result in understanding how to promote their use and make meaningful changes to other assessment methods. The problem this study aims to address is to gain a deeper understanding of the experience of learners using an ePortfolio. This understanding could lead to additional directions for research about value-added features of ePortfolio assessment and ways the ePortfolios could more deeply impact learning than traditional types of assessment. This is a basic qualitative study, and a qualitative process was used to develop the research questions. There's one central question and two sub-questions that encompass the theoretical framework of the research. The central question is, how do learners in a physics class describe the experience of using an ePortfolio as a major assessment tool of that class? There are two sub-questions to further define the research in the context of the theoretical framework. The sub-questions are, what aspects of academic self-efficacy do students talk about when relaying their experience of ePortfolio practice? And the second is, what self-regulative behaviors do students discuss while talking about their use of ePortfolio assessment? The participants of this study will be 27 students in one introductory physics class in a large suburban high school in the northeastern region of the United States. This high school currently has a computer ratio of 1:1. The school system is in its 5th year of a 1:1 MacBook initiative and in its 3rd year where every student at the high school is assigned a personal MacBook. This study uses a basic qualitative model to address a research question. The basic qualitative method, described by Merriam 2009 and Merriam and Tisdale 2015, is based in constructivism and is used when researchers have an interest in how people interpret their experiences, how they construct their worlds, and what meaning they attribute to their experiences. This approach differs from other qualitative methods because it keeps the analysis at this basic level, while others have additional aspects that define them as distinct. The reason to use a basic model in this case is that the basic model is intended to uncover and interpret the meanings that people derive from their experiences. Qualitative research is supported as a method for understanding sources of and the development of academic self-efficacy and self-regulation. All of the students in this class are being assessed using ePortfolio. This is part of a district-wide and school-based initiative of personalized learning and standards-based assessment. The data sets are derived from the regular assessment activities for the class. The first data set will be the written responses to reflective prompts that are contained within the final discussion of the ePortfolio that is submitted for quarterly grading. The second will be transcribed semi-structured interviews that are taken from the student-teacher quarterly conferences. After the quarter is complete and the grades have been submitted as part of the academic record, the data will be compiled for analysis. Both the written responses and the transcripts of interviews will be separated from student identifiers, so the responses will remain as generic data. A set of a priori codes have been developed to start as a provisional list. These codes will fall under two general themes: academic self-efficacy and academic self-regulation. The provisional codes for academic self-efficacy are modeling, mastery, experience, use of feedback, and outcome expectancy. And the provisional codes for academic self-regulation will be engagement and task, planning, motivation, and reflection. These codes will be used first with the responses from the reflective prompts. The research will begin with the list of codes and will apply them to the responses. During preliminary coding of the first few data sets, the codes will be adjusted to match the data. Codes may be revised, removed, or added as responses are evaluated in order to fully capture the meaning of the data. After it seems as though a saturation of codes has been reached, the data will be reviewed by two additional coders to check that the codes are sufficient and that there is a general agreement on how the data should be coded. After that, the remainder of the survey responses will be coded to understand the frequency of the appearance of each code. The transcripts of the interviews will be treated in a similar way, with the additional aspect of trying to use the students' words to help form and revise the list of codes. The transcribed interviews will be coded until saturation is reached and no additional codes are appearing. This will include a minimum of 4 student interviews. The additional coders will also review the coding of the interviews. If additional codes are discovered during the analysis of the interview data, the surveys will be reanalyzed with the additional codes. Finally, the analysis of the interviews will be compared and merged with the analysis of the reflective survey. Differences in the context and the ability of the interviews to include extra prompts to encourage elaboration will strengthen the analysis of the data. Each individual analysis and the combined analysis will be used to generate the understanding of the student experience and to make a statement about the conclusion of the study. The combined analysis of the qualitative data will be used to generate a description of the understanding of the learner experience using an e-portfolio. Thank you very much for your consideration of this proposal in learning and assessment.